Breaking news here on the Raiders Report, as Josh Jacobs and the Raiders were not able to get an extension done by the deadline today. I'm your host stepping in today, Jeremy Chuggs. It's a sad day as Josh Jacobs, according to Ian Rappaport, Tom Pelissero, was not able to get an extension done by the 3 o'clock Central, 4 o'clock Eastern time deadline for extensions today. Ian Rappaport reported this at 2:52 right before the deadline happened. He said the hashtag Raiders and star running back Josh Jacobs did not reach a deal per me and Tom Pelissero despite extensive negotiations. Now it's unclear when he'll show to play on the tag. And, you know, it's been a lot of talk leading up to this. We've been talking Josh Jacobs for the past couple of weeks. If he'll get an extension done, what will happen with Josh Jacobs? What will happen with the front office? What's going to happen with this Raiders offense? I'm going to break some of that down here in just a second. But before we do, you know, this is why you subscribe. We're bringing you Raiders news, good or bad, whenever it happens, 24/7. We've got weekly live shows, daily Raiders videos. So if you love the Raiders, if you want to be the most updated Raiders fan you can possibly be, subscribe to the channel right now, youtube.com/Raiders Report. If you're already subscribed, go ahead and send this link down to a couple of friends. We are the best Raiders YouTube channel on the planet. And going back to this this tweet from Ian Rappaport, whenever it came in, it kind of deflated me a little bit. Kind of felt like one of those kids from the Airhead commercial who got all of the air deflated because, you know, it's just like there's a lot of hope that Josh Jacobs' camp and Dave Ziegler and the Raiders organization would be able to come to a deal because Josh Jacobs, arguably one of the best players on the Raiders' offensive side of the football alongside Devontae Adams. And the fact that he's not able to get a deal done does not bode well for the Raiders' offense this season. This is the latest reports on Josh Jacobs. And he said, you know, if a deal's not made by the deadline, he won't be at training camp. He straight up said that to reporters. You know, veterans report to training camp July 25th, but do not expect running back Josh Jacobs to be one of those guys. He doesn't want to play on the tag, and now he's not really going to have an option. He doesn't have an extension. The extension deadline has passed, so it's either tag, hold out, or he's going to get traded. And there's been reports coming out. He doesn't want to play on the tag, and if he doesn't get an extension, which he did not, it could turn ugly. Now it comes to, you know, what does it turning ugly mean? Like, what is it that now is it getting ugly? What does ugly mean to Josh Jacobs? Does it mean he holds out for the season? What does it mean for the Raiders offense? What does it mean for this, you know, young star's future? I'm not sure. You know, I'm a little disappointed in the fact that he wasn't able to get a deal done, but I want to hear from you guys at home. How are we feeling? What's your one-word reaction to Jacobs not signing an extension today? It's really deflating, and I want to hear from you guys. Are you okay with it? Do you think, you know, next man up mentality? Do you think he's going to play regardless? I don't know how to feel right now that Josh Jacobs didn't get a deal done. I don't know how that puts him with the Raiders organization. You know, where do they stand? I guess we'll have to see once this season nears. But let me know in the comment section right now, what is your one-word reaction to Jacobs not signing an extension today? Jacobs tweeted this out this offseason, bad business. And, you know, talking about the Raiders organization, talking about the front office, you know, he doesn't think the Raiders front office is doing what they need to do. He has, you know, said multiple times, you know, he's had a lot of cryptic tweets saying, you know, it's not good business what the Raiders are doing. I don't like how they're running the organization. And can't say I blame him that much. You know, if you're a guy who had 2,000 all-purpose yards last season and you're in the running back position, you know, you gotta look out for yourself. And if they're not going to pay you after your best season ever as a professional football player, when are you going to get paid? And I think that's why he's kind of in this dark place right now, because he's under the franchise tag. He's not really able to get more money or money that he deserves. And, you know, he said before, I believe we have the tweet from Chris Sims. He said before that, you know, he's willing to play on the franchise tag, but he wants the team to be a lot better around him. And it seems like Jacobs does not think the team really put a great team around him. And then he had the infamous line right here. If you want me to come back as the hero, you better pay me as the hero. And I don't think Jacobs feels like he's getting paid as the hero right now. So So is he going to play like a hero this season? It's really hard to say, what Jacobs is going to be like this season, because he said multiple times, if we have the right team around me, I'm willing to play on the franchise tag. I want to win for this team. But it doesn't seem like he feels like this team can win now. So he's like, okay, if we can't win now, at least I want to get paid. So that step already went in past. He's not going to get paid. So now what's going to happen? Is he going to demand a trade, or will he hold out? Will he hold out? I'm not sure. But this is some important information to know about if Jacobs does decide to hold out this season. A player who holds out during training camp, which opens in July, can be fined $50,000 per day, which is up from $30,000 under the previous collective bargaining agreement. The previous CBA also allowed teams to forgive accumulated fines once a deal was reached, but that is no longer an option unless the absent player is on a rookie contract. He could also hold in instead of going on a holdout. Players can also hold in. It's essentially a collective bargaining agreement loophole. Also, a hold in, the player shows up at training camp on time but does not take part in team activities until his contract dispute is settled. The player avoids daily fines for unexcused absences and simply refuses to work. And important to note there from the first quote, Jacobs has not signed the franchise tag. So he has until week 10, November 14th, to sign the tag, and he can sit out until then. And he won't get fined for training camp, but if he misses games, he could get fined $561,000 per game he misses this season. And latest reports is Jacobs has unfollowed the Raiders on IG. So it's not looking good. And we look at the last player, the last notable running back in that case to hold out, Le'Veon Bell. And that did not work out whatsoever for Mr. Bell. We look at his 2017 season, miraculous. Over 1,200 yards rushing, 320 carries, over 650 receiving yards, and 11 total touchdowns. The right side, after his holdout, that's not his next season, folks. That is the rest of his career. 34 games, only 1,200 yards rushing, 620 receiving yards, 9 total touchdowns, and 34 games played. I don't want to see the same thing happen to Jacobs, because just like Le'Veon Bell, this past season, Jacobs had a miraculous year, totaling over 2,000 all-purpose yards, 1,600 on the ground, 4.9 yards per carry, and 12 touchdowns. His best, not even arguably, definitely his best year as a professional football player. And we look at Jacobs now. What will he decide to do after coming off the best season of his career? Will he decide to go the Le'Veon Bell route? Will he decide to hold out? If that's the case, the Raiders are going to be leaning heavily on last year's draft pick, Zamir White, for this season to take the reins and to take over as the Raiders' starting running back. And, Zamir White last season, didn't get a lot of burns, 17 carries, 70 yards, not a ton of carries. Josh Jacobs was a true bell cow. He took over the lead share of carries for the Raiders last season. So, will the Raiders decide to, give the ball to Zamir, let him get some run? Or will, Josh Jacobs decide, I will play on the franchise tag this season, and will he play for the Raiders? I don't know, but I do want to know from home. I'm a little upset. I was hoping that from watching all of the games last season, Josh Jacobs was an absolute stud, and I was really hoping that we would get the best version of Josh Jacobs this season. Now I'm not sure if that'll happen, but I want to hear from you guys at home right now. Are you upset that Jacobs didn't get an extension done? Yes or no? Let me know in the comment section right now. I'm just really puzzled on what the Raiders and Josh Jacobs are going to do from here. It sounds like a hurt relationship. And how do you mend that relationship now that, there's not an opportunity until towards the end of the season? It's either play on the franchise tag, hold out, or we trade you. Those are really the only three options for Jacobs. And if you're Jacobs, you got to be really disappointed in the team that you gave your heart and soul to last season. As, Ian Rappaport, 8 minutes before the deadline said, there was extensive negotiation talks. They just couldn't reach a deal. And it just comes down to brass tacks. The Raiders were not willing to pay top dollar for a running back. They were, as in essence says, the Patriot Way, not wanting to pay running backs. And, The Athletic, they reported it weeks ago saying, it doesn't seem likely that a Jacobs deal gets done because of the front office and because of how they act towards running backs. Rolly, we actually have some quotes from The Athletic on that. It's been like some writing on the wall as well, which I don't want to say, the Patriot way, but when you have Dave Ziegler and Josh McDaniels, it wasn't likely that a running back was going to get top dollar. They said 3 reasons that Josh Jacobs does not get paid by the Las Vegas Raiders. 1, the Patriots have never paid top dollar to a running back, and McDaniels and general manager Dave Ziegler want to stay true to their former boss, Bill Belichick's model. 2, the NFL has devalued running backs annually, and it hasn't been wrong. Rookies and free agents have mostly performed well when plugged into teams with solid offensive lines. And 3, the big one, the Raiders have no idea what they want to do. I mean, the third one really kind of bugs me because it's like you don't have any idea what you want to do. It's not a lot of vision from Josh McDaniels, Dave Ziegler, on what the Raiders organization needs to do. Because it's, they were brought in to kind of change the culture, change this franchise and turn everything around from from John Gruden and Mike Mayock. And so far, year 2, it doesn't seem like that has been the case. Let's go to some fan thoughts. Obviously, we're live here on the Raiders Report on extension deadline day. This is what some of our fans had to say. PG, sad but not surprising. Of course, JG will be on IR even earlier, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo, he's had a lot of injuries in the past. And that's been a big selling point for Josh Jacobs. He said, you didn't bring me a star quarterback. You didn't get Aaron Rodgers. You didn't get Tom Brady. You didn't get somebody who's proven. You got Jimmy G, somebody who's been injured for the past couple seasons, and the 49ers let walk out of the door with really no care in the world. They'd rather have Brock Purdy, the last pick of the draft last season. So having Jimmy G doesn't inspire this team a ton. And now that Josh Jacobs is not getting a deal done, not getting what he wants, it doesn't bring a lot of inspiration for me for this Raiders offense in 2023. Next up, the legend, Mount Raidermore member, David's on. He's saying it's Zeus. It's all about Zeus. And hey, that's what it might come down to be. And, young running backs is where this league has been trending to. I just wonder where Zeus will be at, especially with a passing game under Jimmy G. If he gets the ball, if it's going to be the offense running through Zeus, is he ready for that? A second-year running back who didn't get a lot of burn last season, is he ready to take over the reins? Is he ready to be the RB1 for this team? I'm not sure. Well, I guess we'll have to see for the rest of this year, but it's really just a deflating day for Raider Nation. And you know what? We'll be there for you throughout it all. We are here live on extension deadline day, and I wouldn't have it any other way because Raider Nation is a family, and we're always there for each other. So when it comes down to it, hit that subscribe button because you will not get any better Raiders content here on YouTube than you get from here at the Raiders Report. If you bleed silver and black, if you love the Las Vegas Raiders, then go ahead, go down and hit that subscribe button right now.